We live in an age that looks, on the surface, like the answer to every fear our ancestors ever had. Most of us will never face a battlefield. We carry instant access to doctors and medication. We can find our way anywhere with a single tap. Food arrives without hunting. Danger is predicted before it even reaches us. By all traditional measures, this should be the least anxious era in human history. And yet, it is the opposite. We are becoming the most anxious generation humanity has ever recorded. Not because life is harder, not because the world is more dangerous, but because the mind that evolved to survive real threats is now drowning in 1,000 artificial ones. You can see the evidence everywhere. Record levels of anxiety disorders, record levels of insomnia, a constant rise in panic attacks and medicated stress. The WHO and CDC call it an epidemic, but you do not need a report to know something is wrong. You can feel it in the way you wake up already tense, in the way your mind starts running before you are even fully conscious, in the way a day with no emergencies still feels like a crisis waiting to happen. Here lies the paradox. Our outer world has never been safer. Our inner world has never been more on edge. And before we go deeper, take a moment to subscribe and share this video with anyone who still thinks anxiety is just a personal flaw instead of a predictable outcome of the world we are all living in. They may not admit it, but they are probably struggling too. Now let us call this era by its real name. The anxious age. A time when anxiety is no longer an occasional reaction, but the background hum of everyday existence. A time when the nervous system behaves as if something is always about to go wrong, even when nothing is happening at all. You can see it in the small habits, the compulsive phone checking, the inability to sit in silence, the constant sense of being behind, even when you are caught up. The feeling that you are missing something important, even when there is nothing to miss. It is anxiety not as a moment, but as a climate. And the question that should unsettle us is this: how did a world built for comfort create minds built for fear? Because the uncomfortable truth is simple. This did not happen by accident. Anxiety did not just appear. It was shaped, encouraged, reinforced. Not through conspiracy, but through a set of conditions so constant and so familiar that we rarely stop to question them. By the end of this video, we will look directly at the thing most people never see. Anxiety is no longer just a feeling. It has become a system, and someone benefits every time it tightens its grip on you. To understand why anxiety has become the emotional baseline of modern life, we need to step back from the noise of today and look at what anxiety was meant to be in the first place. Because anxiety, in its original form, was never the enemy. It was a signal, a guide, a boundary between what we could control and what we could not. The Stoics understood this long before psychology existed. Seneca wrote that most of human suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the mind rehearsing disasters that never arrive. Epictetus warned that fear grows when we demand control over things that were never ours to command. Marcus Aurelius believed anxiety appeared when life drifted out of balance, when we poured our energy into everything except what truly depended on us. And if you look even further back, Buddha taught something similar. That suffering, including anxiety, arises when the mind clings to what is inherently unstable, when we chase what cannot be held, when we attach ourselves to outcomes the world never promised. Aristotle, in his own way, offered a practical version of the same truth. Fear grows in the extremes. Peace grows in the middle path. When the rhythm of life tilts too far in any direction, the mind loses its grounding. In all of these traditions, anxiety was not a malfunction. It was a message, a reminder to step back, return to center, and realign with what actually matters. But then came a shift that no ancient philosopher could have predicted. a shift from natural anxiety to existential anxiety. Kierkegaard called anxiety the dizziness of freedom, not the fear of losing options, but the fear of having too many. When the world opens every door, the mind trembles because it must choose one. With choice comes responsibility. With responsibility comes doubt. With doubt comes anxiety. Sartre pushed this even further. Human beings, he said, are condemned to be free. There is no script, no fixed meaning, no divine guarantee that our choices will be right. And with that freedom comes a quiet terror, a feeling that every step might be the wrong one, that every decision could collapse the life we are trying to build. Heidegger believed anxiety tears away the distractions of daily life and forces us to confront the emptiness underneath. Not the emptiness of sadness, but the emptiness of possibility. Anxiety is the moment you realize you do not actually know why you are doing the things you are doing, or whether they matter at all. Viktor Frankl, years later, would observe this same phenomenon in A Broken World. When people lose meaning, he said, they do not become calm. They become anxious, not because life is unbearable, but because it is directionless. The mind cannot tolerate a vacuum. It fills the void with fear. And then came Erich Fromm, who noticed something radical about modern society. The more freedom we gain, the more we want to flee from it. Because freedom means responsibility. Responsibility means uncertainty. Uncertainty means anxiety. So people escape into systems, ideologies, identities, and routines that promise safety at the cost of authenticity. All of this leads to a single truth. Anxiety was never designed to be constant. It was meant to be an occasional guest, a signal that something is misaligned, a nudge to return to our path or choose a better one. But in the modern world, that signal has been hijacked. Instead of pointing us toward what matters, anxiety has become the air we breathe. It follows us through work, relationships, and even moments of rest. It whispers that we are falling behind. It insists that we are not enough. It invents threats where none exist. The ancient warning bell has become background noise. And here is the most dangerous part. When anxiety becomes constant, we stop treating it as a message and start treating it as an identity. We do not say, I feel anxious today. We say, this is who I am. We surrender the possibility of change because we believe the feeling is permanent. But it is not permanent. It is conditioned. It is learned. It is reinforced by systems that benefit when we stay on edge. In the past, anxiety pushed us back to ourselves. Today, anxiety pulls us away from ourselves. And that is the tragedy. We are not using anxiety as a compass anymore. We are being used by it, pulled around by a nervous system that never gets a chance to reset, interpret, or decide what the signal even means. Because for the first time in human history, anxiety is not an alarm. It has become the soundtrack. If ancient anxiety was a signal and existential anxiety was a crisis of meaning, then modern anxiety is something altogether different. It is manufactured, not consciously or maliciously, but systemically, culturally, structurally. It is woven into the way we consume information, the way we work, the way we compare ourselves, and the way we define our value. To understand this, we need to examine the world we actually live in, not the world we imagine we live in. The modern mind is immersed in stimulation. It is surrounded by noise, speed, and interruption. And this constant stimulation does not sharpen us. It fractures us. Neil Postman warned about this long before social media existed. He said we were amusing ourselves to death, not because entertainment is harmful, but because the human attention span was never designed to process an endless stream of novelty. Every platform must compete for your attention, and the fastest way to get it is to trigger your fear. Fear makes you look, fear makes you click, fear makes you stay, which means the world you consume is shaped not by what is true, but by what is stimulating. Marshall McLuhan made the same point from a different angle. The medium is the message. The platforms we use shape the way we think. When every medium becomes faster, shorter, louder, and more fragmented, the message we absorb is not the content, it is the pace. And the pace tells us a simple, destructive story. You are never allowed to slow down. You are never allowed to rest. If you stop paying attention for even a moment, you will fall behind. The result is a nervous system that never drops into calm. Silence feels unnatural. Stillness feels suspicious. Your mind is trained to expect danger even when none is present. Byung-Chul Han calls this the burnout society, a society where people no longer collapse from overwork, but from over-comparison, from the pressure to optimize everything, from the belief that you must constantly improve, constantly prove, constantly upgrade every part of your identity. You become both the worker and the taskmaster. You exploit yourself, and anxiety becomes the fuel that keeps you moving. In this culture, nothing is ever enough. Not your achievements, not your body, not your productivity, not your relationships. Everything becomes a performance. Everything becomes a measurement. Everything becomes a potential failure. Zygmunt Bauman described this as liquid modernity. Nothing is stable. Jobs are temporary. Relationships are fragile. Identities shift with trends. The ground beneath you is always moving, and when nothing feels secure, anxiety becomes the normal response, not the pathological one. As Bauman would say, in a liquid world, the only thing more frightening than sinking is standing still. But perhaps the most revealing perspective comes from Guy Debord and the Society of the Spectacle. In this world, we do not simply live our lives. We perform them, we curate them, we display them, and we judge ourselves not by what we experience, but by how that experience appears to others. This is where anxiety multiplies, not because life is hard, but because visibility is constant. You feel watched even when you are alone. You feel judged even when no one is looking. You fear not physical danger, but social irrelevance. And in a world where everything is measurable and comparable, irrelevance feels like death. These thinkers did not know each other. They did not live in the same century, but they all pointed to the same truth. Modern culture does not create peace. It creates stimulation, comparison, uncertainty, and performance pressure. And the nervous system interprets all of these as threats. This is why modern anxiety feels different from ancient fear. Ancient fear ended when the danger ended. Modern fear does not end because the triggers never end. The notification never stops. The feed never stops. The comparisons never stop. The pressure never stops. Your mind is not responding to reality. It is responding to an environment engineered to keep you alert. And here is the most important insight of this entire section. In a culture built on speed, stimulation, and comparison, calm does not feel natural. It feels wrong. Stillness feels like falling behind. Quiet feels like missing out. Rest feels like weakness. These are not personal failures, they are cultural conditions. And once you see this, you can no longer pretend anxiety is just an individual issue. It is the logical outcome of a world that treats your attention as a resource, your emotions as leverage, and your nervous system as a marketplace. Anxiety is not happening inside you, it is happening around you. If culture shapes the climate of anxiety, then education and technology shape the architecture of the mind that lives inside that climate. Because anxiety is not only emotional, it is neurological, it is behavioral, it is learned. And for the past decades, without knowing it, we have been training the nervous system to operate in a permanent state of tension. To see how deep this goes, we need to start where most conditioning begins: school. The modern education system was not built to create calm or confidence. Paulo Freire argued that it functions like a banking model. Students are containers, teachers are depositors, and knowledge is something to be stored rather than understood. Ivan Illich went further. He said schooling teaches hierarchy long before it teaches skill. It rewards obedience, comparison, fear of failure, and dependence on external validation. From the moment we enter school, we begin learning the emotional habits of anxiety. Your worth becomes a number. Your identity becomes a grade. Every assignment becomes a test of whether you measure up, not just to expectations, but to everyone else around you. Sir Ken Robinson famously said, "Schools kill creativity, but they do something else too. They teach internal instability. You learn to fear falling behind, to fear not performing, to fear disappointing authority. You become familiar with a world in which your value is always being evaluated. And when you graduate, that pattern does not disappear. It simply changes shape. The grades become performance reviews. The teacher becomes the manager. The report card becomes the KPI dashboard. The fear remains the same. You may call it stress, but the body calls it anxiety. And on top of this emotional structure, we built another layer, a neurochemical one that is far more powerful than any exam. B.F. Skinner discovered that the most addictive behaviors are shaped by variable rewards. The less predictable the reward, the more compulsive the checking. Today, every platform is built on this principle. Scroll for a hit, tap for a hit, refresh for a hit. The reward is not guaranteed, and that is exactly why we cannot stop. This is not entertainment, this is conditioning. Skinner's pigeons pressed the lever because the next reward might be the one. We check our phones for the same reason. A message might arrive, a notification might appear, something might happen. The uncertainty keeps the nervous system alert, but alert is only one step away from anxious. Anna Lemke explains this beautifully. In a world of overstimulation, dopamine is not just a pleasure chemical. It is a tension chemical. The more stimulation you consume, the lower your baseline becomes. You do not feel better. You feel emptier, anxious, restless. You reach for your phone not to feel good, but to avoid feeling worse. This is the cycle. Stimulation creates anticipation. Anticipation creates tension. Tension becomes anxiety. And because the relief is always temporary, the anxiety returns stronger than before. Daniel Kahneman provides the cognitive layer of this pattern. The human mind has two systems. System 1 is fast, impulsive, emotional, and reactive. System 2 is slow, thoughtful, logical, and calm. Our world constantly activates System 1. Notifications, deadlines, interruptions, noise, speed. System 2 rarely has space to take over. We are thinking fast all the time, even when we should be thinking slowly. This is why modern life feels overwhelming. The brain is always scanning for danger, always predicting outcomes, always bracing for something to go wrong. You interpret every vibration, every email, every silence as a potential threat. And then there is the body itself, quietly absorbing the consequences. Stephen Porges, through the polyvagal theory, says the nervous system exists in three main states: safety, mobilization, shutdown. Modern life rarely lets us stay in safety. We live in a constant low-grade mobilization, a readiness for action, a near fight-or-flight state. Not enough to trigger panic, just enough to keep the heart rate elevated, the breath shallow, the sleep fragmented, the mind restless. You are not imagining it when your body feels tense for no reason. There is a reason. It is responding to a world built on alerts, obligations, and interruptions. And the data confirms all of this. Jean Twenge's research shows younger generations report higher levels of self-diagnosed anxiety than any group ever recorded. Not because they are weaker, but because they are the first to grow up entirely inside the digital environment that accelerates all these patterns. This is the key. Anxiety today is not a malfunction of the individual. It is a predictable outcome of the systems that raised us, trained us, rewarded us, and entertained us. School conditioned us to live by comparison. Technology conditioned us to chase stimulation. Work conditioned us to fear falling behind. And the nervous system learned to operate in a world where calm is rare and rest is suspicious. We live in an environment that never lets the mind settle. So anxiety becomes the default. Not because we choose it, but because everything around us teaches the body to expect the next hit, the next threat, the next demand. For the first time in human history, the nervous system is not responding to danger, it is responding to design. If you have followed the path of this video, you can now see the shape of a truth we rarely admit. Anxiety has not risen by accident. It has not spread because millions of people suddenly became fragile. It has grown because it benefits the world we live in. A world that profits when you are uneasy, insecure, uncertain, and always searching for something to soothe the discomfort inside you. We like to believe anxiety is a private battle, something that happens only in the mind. But anxiety is also political, economic, and cultural. It is one of the most powerful tools for shaping human behavior, and the systems around us have learned exactly how to use it. The anxious citizen is the perfect customer. He fears missing out, so he buys more. He feels inadequate, so he upgrades more. He feels behind, so he spends more time chasing the next improvement, the next program, the next product that promises relief. In a world built on consumption, calm is not profitable. But insecurity is one of the most profitable emotions ever engineered. The anxious worker is the perfect employee. He rarely questions the pace. He rarely challenges unreasonable expectations. He stays late, answers emails at midnight, keeps pushing because the fear of falling behind is stronger than the desire to rest. He does not resist because he barely has the mental clarity to see the system he is participating in. His anxiety becomes the leash that keeps him in motion. The anxious voter is the perfect audience for fear-based narratives. Political campaigns thrive on threat. Media outlets survive on alarm. Headlines escalate emotion because emotion keeps you watching, and the easiest emotion to trigger is not joy or hope, it is fear. The more anxious a population becomes, the easier it is to persuade, to divide, to control. And the anxious mind is the least likely to question any of this. This is the part most people never see. Anxiety narrows attention. It makes you focus on the immediate threat, the immediate discomfort. It steals the bandwidth you would otherwise use to think, reflect, question, and resist. When anxiety fills your inner world, the outer world can shape you without your noticing. This is why the modern environment does not need an elaborate conspiracy. It only needs one simple principle. People who are anxious do not slow down. They do not examine the structure around them. They do not ask whether the standards they are chasing were ever theirs to begin with. They surrender quietly, not in one dramatic moment, but gradually. Every time they scroll for comfort, every time they avoid silence, every time they let fear decide what to do next. Surrender becomes a habit long before it becomes a decision. And this is the most painful parallel with the first video in this series. The dumbest generation was not created by force. It was created by distraction. The most anxious generation will not be created by trauma. It will be created by participation, by the way we respond to the discomfort inside us, by the way we chase stimulation instead of meaning, by the way we outsource our inner stability to a world that has no interest in giving it back. But if anxiety can be conditioned, it can also be deconditioned, not with shallow self-help slogans, but with something older, deeper, and far more difficult. The Stoics had a phrase for this: Return to what you can control, not as a motivational quote, but as a radical act of reclaiming your mental space. When you stop obsessing over what lies beyond your reach, anxiety loses one of its fuel sources. Buddhist thought offers a similar doorway. The suffering created by clinging begins to dissolve the moment you see that everything you cling to is temporary. Attachment amplifies anxiety. Awareness reduces it. Kierkegaard and Frankl point to another form of liberation. Anxiety reveals what is missing. If you follow the discomfort to its source, you can find the question your life has avoided. Meaning does not eliminate anxiety, but it gives anxiety a direction, and direction weakens fear. Fromm would say, freedom is frightening only when you stand inside it without grounding. The moment you choose a life aligned with your own values, not the values handed to you, the anxiety of uncertainty transforms into the anxiety of possibility, a quieter, more honest form of discomfort. This is not a list of techniques. It is a change of posture, a decision to stop running from the feeling and start listening to what it is trying to tell you. Anxiety is not always the enemy. Sometimes it is the most truthful signal in your life. And in a world that wants to keep you uneasy, every moment of calm becomes an act of subtle resistance, not a wellness practice, not a hack, but a refusal to let your nervous system be shaped by forces that do not care about your well-being. To reclaim your attention is to reclaim your mind. To reclaim your mind is to reclaim your life. And to reclaim your life is to step out of the psychological climate that profits from your fear. Which brings us to the final point. We are the most anxious generation in history, but we are also the first generation with the knowledge and tools to see the mechanisms behind that anxiety. No other era had this much insight into the mind, this much understanding of neuroscience, this much clarity about what anxiety is and how it grows. The question is not whether anxiety exists. The question is whether we will continue to live inside it as if we have no choice. Because once you understand the system, once you see how it shapes you, once you recognize who benefits from your fear, the path forward becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. You no longer have to be the product of this world. You can choose to become the person who steps outside the noise, the pressure, the comparison, and the fear. The generation that learned to live with anxiety does not have to be the generation defined by it. In the end, the anxious age can produce two kinds of people: those who remain trapped inside the system, and those who see the system clearly enough to walk away from it. And that choice, for the first time in history, belongs entirely to you. If this made you see the world a little clearer, stay, think deeper. This is Think Mate.